Why? Why not? I thought instead of the Debbie Friedman, you know, you can't do all of hers. She
No,
can't
of course,
dominate
yeah.
totally, really. Okay, it's now streaming. Okay.
Okay, guys, I don't know who is there yet. I'm just going to check on my phone. Okay, 2 people already.
That's lovely.
3 people. Right. So tonight we have a special Shabbat with Rebekka, who is leading the service with me. Yeah, Tina, Neil, Shabbat Shalom to you. I can see you here. Jill, Joyce is here, Norman. How good to have you with us tonight. It's always good to see your names coming on the comment section. We still have a few minutes to go. So this Shabbat, Natalia, Shabbat Shalom to you. So this Shabbat is Shabbat Vayikra, which means, and he called, i.e. God called. It's the first parasha of the book of Leviticus. And if you look carefully in the scroll, you will see that Vayikra, which is written Vav, Yud, Kuf, Resh, Aleph, the Aleph is very small. And some people say that it's because Moses was so humble before God that the Aleph of Adam is diminished. That's a nice way to do. It might be a nice way to say, I don't know what it means, but you know, that's creativity. So Meira, Shabbat Shalom, and Shabbat Shalom Sibyl, Deborah, Shabbat Shalom. We have all the faithful, Carl, Shabbat Shalom, Carl and Bev. I hope you're both okay. Okay, so wow, we are going to start our service tonight on page 75 in your prayer books. And we have decided with Rebekka that tonight will be a special Shabbat because we will dedicate it to Sarah Evra, who was killed last week by a policeman in the streets in London. And it's our way to say enough is enough. So tonight is a special Shabbat for all the women in the world to say that we don't accept that violence is that people can be violent against you. So tonight, Rebekka and I are going to do something to celebrate our humanity, our shared humanity, and the fact that humanity is diverse. It's not one type of person, but the plurality and diversity of voices is part of God's plan. So we have Holy, Shabbat Shalom, Sarah as well, Philip, Julie, Michelle, Rabbi Janet, Craig, Shabbat Shalom to you all. So if you haven't done so yet, okay, where am I? We are lighting the Shabbat candles together, which in a traditional synagogue is normally in a traditional synagogue, women do that, but we want to break all sorts of gender assigned task, and tonight me as a man, I'll do that. The worst thing I've heard about that, I can tell you now, that I asked once a Haredi guy and say, why do women light the Shabbat candles? And he told me it's because Eve brought the sin into the world, and by lighting a Shabbat candle, she pushes back sin outside the world. And I thought that's really, anyway. Anna, Shabbat Shalom, and Lisa as well. Sandra, you see, I don't have my beanies tonight. Paul, Philip, and Sandra as well. Jason, Shabbat Shalom, Dominic, and Teresa, my sister-in-law. She's a faithful of our community. Okay, let's light the Shabbat candles. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam אשר קידשנו במצוותיו, וציוונו להדליק נר של שבת. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
The Sabbath has descended to enfold us in its mantle of peace. It brings to us the precious gifts of time to embrace family and friends, to reflect more deeply on the meaning and purpose of our lives, and to worship in the beauty of holiness. May our Shabbats always be sanctuaries of love and devotion, bringing contentment to our hearts, happiness to our homes, and blessing to our people. Rebekka, over to you.
Shabbat Shalom. Last Shabbat marked the beginning of the month of Nisan, when we approach Pesach and ask ourselves, what freedoms are we still fighting for, and what new calls for freedom do we hear? This year, Nisan began at the end of the week marking International Women's Day, a day that has become much bigger than a day. It's a time of year now recognized by women and girls across the globe as calling for something much greater. A call to us all to face the continuing human rights crisis of violence against women, violence on the street, violence in our homes. This year's slogan for the International Women's Day was "Choose to Challenge," and we're living in a time, thankfully, where there is a global climate of challenge to the status quo. For this evening's service, I've chosen some melodies composed by women that are already very much a part of our services at KLS. And to name some of the women who've contributed Shabbat melodies to our prayers was Debbie Friedman, Shalom Aleichem and Ahavat Olam, Micha Mocha by Hannah Tiferet Siegel, The Shema by Leonore Fried, Sim Shalom by Julie Silver, to name but a few. Also thought it'd be nice this evening to start the service with the Tefilat Haderech, the prayer for safe traveling, to a melody by Debbie Friedman. Shabbat Shalom. May we be blessed as we go on our way. May we be blessed with health and joy. May we be sheltered by the wings of peace, and may be kept in safety and in peace. Amen. May we be our blessing. Amen. Amen. May this be our blessing. Amen. And we continue on page 76 with the Shalom Aleichem. Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Malachi Hasharet, Malachi Elyon. Melech Malchei Hamlachim, Akadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem Lishalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Melech Malchei Hamlachim, Akadosh Baruch Hu. Bachuni leShalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Melech Malachei Hamlachim, Akadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Malachi Hasharet, Malachi Elyon. Mi Melech Malchi Hamlachim, Hakadosh, Hakadosh Baruch Hu. Zeitchem לשלום, מלאכי השלום, מלאכי עליון. מי מלך מלכי המלאכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. שלום עליכם, שלום עליכם, מלאכי השרת, מלאכי עליון. מי מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש, הקדוש ברוך הוא.
Thank you, Rebekka. Rebekka, we have a request from Sandra Weber. Her auntie Mary with 100 had a fall, and she asked if we could sing the Mishe Berach for her auntie from Debbie Friedman. Do you know it by heart?
I'm sorry, I just don't know it off by heart.
Okay, I think I do remember.
Mishe Berach Lavotenu. Do you remember?
Yeah, it's too high for me. Do you want me to do it?
One who blesses all.
With refuah shelema, refuat hanefesh, refuat haguf, venomar amen. Mishe berach imotenu, mekor habracha lavotenu. May the source of blessing, may the source of healing. Oh, I don't remember. Anyway, Auntie Mary, we wish you refuah shlema, and we hope that you will recover very soon. And we know that Sandra is very fond of you. And Sandra, we're also with you because we know that it's very difficult to see someone we love who suffers. So we are now page 86. And Rebekka, over to you.
Proclaim freedom for daughter and son, and keep us, God, as the apple of your eye. Beautiful make our name, and never to cease as we come to rest on the Sabbath day. The Vayikra Levinim bat Vayimsochem Kamu Vavat Naim Shimchen Volo Yushabat Shavu Vanuchu Bayom Shabbat Shavu Vanuchu Bayom Shabbat Derosh Havi Ulami Va'ot Yesha Aseimi Natash Sorek V'Tokami Shabbat b'nei ami. Shei Shabbat b'nei ami. Yadai, 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 Okay. We continue now with the Chadodi, page 91. Rene, we do this together, yes?
Yep.
Would you like to start?
Which melody?
Perhaps
לך דודי לקראת קהלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קהלה, בני שבת נקבלה. שמו וזכור בדיבור אחד, השמיענו אל המיוחד, אדוני אחד. ושמו אחד לשם ולתפארת ולתהילה.
לך דודי לקראת קהלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קהלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לקראת שבת לכוון אלך, כי היא מקור הברכה, מראש מקדם נסוך. סוף מעשה מחשבה תחילה. לך דודי. Over band.
It's right. לך דודי לקראת קהלה, בני שבת נקבלה. התעוררי, התעוררי, כי בא אורך. קומי יורי, 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 שיר דברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה.
בואי בשלום עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה, תוך אמונה אם סגולה. בואי כלה, בואי כלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. We stand for the Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMavorach. Baruch Adonai HaMavorach Le'olam Ha'ed.
We're on page 93. We praise you, Eternal One, our God, sovereign of the universe, whose word brings on the evening, whose wisdom opens heaven's gates, whose understanding changes times and seasons, and whose will sets the stars in their courses in the sky. You make day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light. You make day pass and bring on the night, and separate day from night. You rule the host of heaven. ומעביר יום ומביא לילה, ומבדיל בין יום ובין לילה, אדוני צבאות שמו. ברוך אתה אדוני, המעריב הערבים.
אהבת עולם בית ישראל, עמך אהבת, עמך אהבת. תורה ומצוות, חוקים ומשפטים, אותנו לימדת, אותנו לימדת. על כן אדוני אלוהינו בשוכבנו וקומנו נשיח בחוקיך ונשמח בדברי תורתך ובמצוותיך אל העם ואל. כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו, ובהם נגי יומם ולילה, נגי יומם ולילה. ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני אוהב עמו ישראל, אוהב עמו ישראל. שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד. ברוך שם כבוד, כבוד מלכותו, לעולם ועד. יא לי לי, יא לי לי לי, יא לי לי, יא לי לי לי, יא לי לי, יא לי לי לי.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך. ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשורבך ובקומך, וקשחתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך, ובשעריך. למען תזכרו, ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. Ani Adonai Elohechem, Elohechem, Emet. All this we hold to be true and sure. You alone, Eternal One, are our God, and we are Israel, your people. You have freed us from oppressors and delivered us from tyrants. You led us out of Egypt forever to serve you in freedom. When we witnessed your power, we praised your name and gave thanks. Willingly, we accepted your rule. Then, full of joy, we sang together.
Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai. Mi chamocha nedar b'kodesh noha tilot oseh v'lev noha tilot oseh v'lev mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai. Mi chamocha nedar b'kodesh. Adonai, Adonai, Adonai yimloch leolam ba'ed. Adonai yimloch leolam ba'ed. Ay, 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 ay.
ונאמר, כי פדה אדוני את יעקב וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו. ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל. Grant, eternal God, that we may lie down in peace, and let us rise up to life renewed. Spread over us the shelter of your peace. Guide us with your wise counsel, and for your name's sake be our help. Shield us from sickness and war, from famine and distress, and keep us from wrongdoing. Shelter us in the shadow of your wings, for you are our guardian and deliverer, a gracious and merciful God. Guard our going out and coming in, that now and always we may have life and peace. We praise you, O God. May your sheltering face descend on us and all who dwell on earth. And we're on page 97.
Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi yagita hilatecha. Eternal God, open our lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei avoteinu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzhak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah, האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון, גומל חסדים טובים וקונה הכל, ושוחח שתי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עושה ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם בעזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיה מתים אתה רב להושיע. משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מצריח השמש ומוריד הטל. מחכה חיים בחסד, מחיה מתים ברחמים רבים. סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשנה עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומדומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה. ונאמן אתה לחיות מתים, ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי המתים.
קדוש אתה ונורא שמך, ואין לנו אלוה מבלעדיך. ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש. We thank you, O God, for this Sabbath day, which calls us to a closer communion with you. Though you are near to us at all times, you reveal your presence most clearly when we direct our thoughts towards you in worship and meditation. In you, O God, our humanity is exalted. You are our life. From you come its greatness, its power, its beauty. Establish in us, we humbly pray, a devotion to you that shall be firm in all the circumstances of life. May this service renew in our hearts the sense of your presence and bring us peace.
ישמחו במלכותך, ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי שבת וקוראי עונג. המקדשי שבי, המקדשי שבי, כולם יספעו ויתענגו מטובך. והשביעי, רצית בו, וקידשתו, חמדת ימים, חמדת ימים, אותו קראת, זכר למעשה בראשית.
On page 100, our God and God of ancestors, may our rest on this day be pleasing in your sight. Sanctify us by your commandments and make us loyal to your teaching. Satisfy us with your goodness, gladden us with your salvation, and purify our hearts to serve you in truth. In your gracious love, eternal one, let the holiness of your Sabbath enter our hearts, and may all Israel who hallow your name be exalted by its peace. We praise you, O God, for the holiness of the Sabbath. Eternal God, be gracious to people Israel, and in your love accept their prayers. May our worship now and always be acceptable in your sight. We praise you, O God, whom alone we worship in reverence. Modim anachnu lach. We give thanks that you, Eternal One, are our God, as you were the God of ancestors. You are the rock of our life, the power that shields us in every age. We thank and praise you for our lives which are in your hand, for our souls which are in your keeping, for the signs of your presence we encounter every day, and for your wondrous gifts at all times, morning, noon, and night. We praise you, O God, source of goodness, to whom our thanks are due.
שים שלום, טובה וברכה. שים שלום, טובה וברכה. שים שלום, טובה וברכה. שים שלום, טובה וברכה. חן וחסד, חן וחסד ורחמים. חן וחסד, חן וחסד ורחמים. ורחמים, שים שלום, טובה וברכה. שים שלום, טובה וברכה, עלינו ועל כל ישראל, עלינו ועל כל ישראל, עמך, שים שלום, טובה וברכה, שים שלום, טובה וברכה.
As a loving parent, supreme source of peace, grant true and lasting peace to people Israel, for it is good in your sight that you people Israel and all peoples may be blessed at all times with your gift of peace. We praise your God, the source of peace. And we can now take a few moments for private prayer and private meditation. May the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable to you, O God, my rock and my redeemer.
יהיו לרצון, אמרי פי, והגיון ליבי לפניך, אדוני צורי וגואלי. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל בני אדם. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל בני אדם.
Thank you, Rebekka. Thank you, Rebekka, for your music and for your energy. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Shabbat Shalom wherever you are, whether around Kingston in the United Kingdom or beyond the borders. So tonight, as I said at the start of the service, is Shabbat Vayikra. I just wanted to start with mentioning a sermon that Rabbi John Rene, Zichrono Livracha, delivered at the LJS in 1990. And he was talking on the opening words of Vayikra. And he said, and I quote his sermon, "This is the time of the year when, paradoxically, just as we get ready to celebrate Pesach, we leave behind the book of Exodus with its stirring account of the deliverance of our ancestors from Egyptian slavery and turn to the very different book of Leviticus, which will provide our Torah readings for the next 7 weeks. It is a time which Jewish preachers don't particularly relish, for there is little in the book of Levitical to inspire, to edify, or even to interest a modern congregation. Of course, there is the great 19th chapter with its lofty moral exhortations, such as love your neighbor as yourself. There is the 23rd chapter about the festivals of a Jewish year, which still regulates our calendar. And there is the 25th chapter which its utopian provisions for a just social order, including the Jubilee. But that makes only 3 chapters out of 27. The rest is almost entirely occupied with the priesthood and the sacrificial cult and the laws of ritual defilement and purification, particularly chapter after chapter, prescribing in minute details the sacrifices to be offered day by day. There is therefore a great temptation at this time of the year to choose the Torah readings with judicious selectivity, or else to read a short passage from the prescribed portion, but then quickly to forget about it and talk about something entirely different. End of quote. Rabbi Rene decided not to take the easy way, and he decided to tackle the issue of sacrifices for us progressive Jews. And his conclusion still resonates today, and this is what he says. The sacrificial cult represents a stage in the development of Judaism that was left behind long ago. We look to the past only to see how far we have traveled and to understand more clearly where we must go, which is not back to square one, but forward to a better future, to a more mature kind of religious belief and worship. End of quote. As you know, since the 19th century reform in Germany, progressive Jews do not long for the re-establishment of the sacrificial cult in the Temple of Jerusalem, and we are very much aware of the price we would have to pay just to rebuild a temple in the city of Jerusalem. However, we must keep this text alive as part of our tradition, not because we believe that might be relevant one day in the future, but because they belong to our history. They inspired our ancestors. They were part of their worldview, and they were once central to the Jewish religion. Another thing that we can draw from this book, which is very interesting for us today, the root for the word sacrifice, in Hebrew it's korban, is kuf resh beit. And this root means to get or to bring closer to. In the temple, sacrifices were meant to bridge the gap between the people and the divine, to open a road between the profane and the sacred. The ancient worshipper would bring to the temple something of value, each according to his or her own means, and offer it to make peace, to repair a wrong done, or to simply express gratitude. Gift giving in antiquity was an important feature of human relationships. It constituted the fundamental gesture of public recognition between human groups and was a precondition to form alliances. In the religious world in antiquity, sacrifices were understood as an act of gift giving to create an alliance between the divine and the human realms, a transaction that ensured continuity in relationships. Rabbis of the past have transformed the avodah, and I'm just realizing, you know what? I'm realizing that I'm reading by Dvar Torah for tomorrow, and I don't want to do it. I'm going to read my... Okay, sorry, it was my Dvar Torah for tomorrow. Spoiler alert, and I want to talk about something completely different. I'm going to restart again. So I can't see any comment from Rebekka. Usually she's very quick in spotting these kind of things. It will come. So yeah, sorry about that. It's an entirely different theme tonight, and I wanted to start with a memory. Some years ago, I was part of a discussion about finding a candidate for a position. I expressed my interest to this position, and I was told it has to be a woman. We need to restore gender balance. And when I challenged this criterion, someone said to me, now you know what it means to be discriminated on the basis of your gender. And she was right. I remember the humiliation suffered by my mother, for example, when she decided to get a divorce back in the 1970s. In those days, divorce in France was only possible if one's guilt could be proven. The notion that people may decide quietly that their story was over wasn't conceivable. And it took one of the first female judges to ensure that my mother wasn't entirely crushed in the process. For me, seeing her struggle, to be recognized in a wish, in what she wanted, was the foundational moment. And I realized how cruel and unfair adults can be. So back to the exchange I just mentioned earlier about this position. Yes, I did agree because gender discrimination exists. But then if I cannot get something because I'm a man, isn't it exactly the same dynamic, gender-based discrimination? And surely there must be another way to look at that. Then I realized that it all goes back to a power dynamic, a power game between genders, between races, between social classes. In order that one wins, one has to lose. It's sadly quite human, and it's actually the foundation of our societies today. And there are many examples of that. The Brexit campaigners, sorry, I'm going back to Brexit again, but the Brexit campaigners oppose the alleged metropolitan elite against the people in the countryside and the working class areas of the country. And the irony here is that the promoters of this ideology were not working class people, but rich, privately educated men, some women, who just use this popular anger for self-promotion. Another example, the horrible murder of Floyd George by a policeman in Minneapolis in May 2020 brought into the daylight, if needed, race inequality in the United States, but also in Europe. And you remember, demonstrations erupted in our major cities. A new movement was created, Black Lives Matter. My first instinct was to think, surely all lives matter. And then I saw that it was used as a slogan by far-right movements. I stopped using it because the last thing I wanted was to be identified with those people. The whole debate was us against them. And more recently, very recently, a week ago, the murder of Sarah Everard by a policeman in London, just a few days after International Women's Day. I don't know if you remember, a female MP read in Parliament the list of women killed by domestic abuse. What a moment it was, what a moving moment it was. And it reminded what we do in France when we mark Yom HaShoah. So in France, during Yom HaShoah, we read the list of all the people who were sent into the camps. So there were 76 convoys that left France between 1942 and 1944. And over the years, we read each list. And for me, it was the same feeling, victims of discriminations. And this murder of this woman by someone supposed to represent the protection that the state offers really struck a chord with all of us. How many women have been abused, victimized by men over the history of humankind? We can all relate to Sarah. She was a London lady, a woman we can see in the street. She was our daughter, our sister, our friend, our partner, one of these many women who walk in our streets and yet don't feel safe. It is very important for us to express our sadness and our anger, to demonstrate in the streets against that. But we also need to think about the roots of the problem. What is actually happening here? In truth, our Western world is more peaceful, more equal, and less violent than it ever was. That is precisely why one murder raises so much outcry and indignation. It is a healthy reaction. And I'm very worried about the new legislation that tries to limit the right to demonstrate. I heard today that it might be shelved for the time being, but how many liberties have we lost for the sake of security or social harmony? But something hasn't changed over the generations. Relationships, either on the level of interpersonal relationships or on the macro level of social interactions, are all too often seen as a power struggle between different groups of people. And then you have a group which is discriminated based on race, gender, religion, and so on. And in that case, when a man who is physically stronger than a woman, who is an authoritative figure, decide that he can abduct and abuse and kill this woman because of that, because he's stronger. He doesn't see her as a fellow human being, but he sees her as a prey that he, as a predator, can use as he wishes. When white policemen in the States or here arrest more black men than white men, they see these men from ethnic minorities not really as equal to them. And no wonder that oppressed minorities fight back and assert their rights. I don't think there's an easy solution to that. We need to make a big shift in how we understand our shared humanity. And if you remember the prophet Zechariah, we said 6th century BCE, not by might and not by power, but by spirit alone. As a species, we have made great progress in technology and science, but there is much to do as far as our common ethical ground is concerned. When we accept, acknowledge, and absorb the truth that we are all part of the same species, that we were all endowed with the same rights and privileges, that human relationships should be based on real partnership and collaboration and not on power, then and only then we will remember Sarah Everard as a witness of a terrible and sad past, the memory of what we used to be and the measure of the progress we've made. So something that happened today that I'm happy to share with you now, I don't know if you've seen, but the Israeli embassy has prepared an event to mark Women's History Month. And they invited several women to talk about faith, leadership in faith. And we were all so surprised because they didn't invite any of the female rabbis in the United Kingdom. The only female clergy they invited were Christian. So me and other colleagues, we wrote to the embassy to express our anger because it's exactly what happened. And we had phone calls from the embassy who actually they apologized about that. I don't know if it's just polite apologies, but there's still much work to do, even if our Jewish religious world, where a women ambassador, who is quite right-wing, to be honest with you, a women ambassador organizing an event and does not recognize the fact that women rabbi have literally transformed the understanding of what being a rabbi means. As I said, we are far from this equality and from this respect and for this understanding of human relationship based on partnership, equality. But this is how I understand the progressive value of Tikkun Olam, repairing the world. And I think the first thing is to repair ourselves, is to repair a somehow twisted understanding of human relationships, and to see in each of us a sparkle of the divine. And to finish with Judy Chicago words, and then, and only then, everywhere will be called Eden once again. Thank you. Right, so before we conclude our service, just a few announcements. So again, everything is in the newsletter, but just wanted to flag a few things. As I said last week, it's quite funny to be able to lead a service and have your phone with you like this. But oh well, that's the way things are today. So tomorrow morning we have morning service at 11:15 from the sanctuary. So Rebekka Zingerman Knight will play the music, and I will lead the service with her. And Craig will be behind the scene and make sure that everything runs smoothly. Kiddush will be on Zoom, of course. Sunday morning at 11, cook along, organized by Anne Shanak. She invites you to her in her. She invites you to join her in a Thames-eating kitchen as she prepares her own version of a traditional Greek dish, spanakopita, and ice cream sandwiches. Okay. And Sunday evening, 6 p.m., Film Crushers Zoom, discussion Firebirds, and Israeli thrillers, which can be rented from UK Jewish Film. And all, we have usual classes, and very important, next weekend, it's Pesach. So Pesach starts on Saturday evening, and second night Sunday evening. So a few things about this Pesach weekend. Friday evening, Rebekka, who is with us tonight, we will co-lead the service with Jill and Norman Hyman with a Pesach-themed Erev Shabbat. Saturday morning, you will join Finchley Progressive Synagogue for the Shabbat morning service. On Saturday evening, okay, so you have three options for the first night. Either you join one of the members' Seder, so you need to ask Diane, to tell Diane that you want to join the member Seder. She will do the Shidduch. Or you can host yourself a Seder and invite people to your own Seder. Or you can join Wessex, because I will lead the Erev Pesach, the first night Seder, with Wessex Liberal Synagogue, and we will use the Haggadah. Sunday the 28th, there will be a Pesach study session at 11 in the morning. We'll talk about Pesach, and 5:30, a communal Seder for the second night, a careless communal Seder. So we've been working very hard with a team of very creative people to put together a special Pesach Seder, a very special Seder for this year. With there will be a wide range of activities. So you will hear about Moses having a therapy session with Dr. Freud. There will be music, and it's activities for all ages. So we had so much fun in organizing this Seder that I'm sure you will have fun in being part of this Seder as well. Last thing, still about Pesach. Two things. The first thing, we are repeating our matzah delivery service that we started last year. So we have many people willing to deliver boxes of matzah kosher for Passover. And you have to ask Mary Simmons, and her email is mary.regal@gmail.com by Monday. So if you want to buy matzah boxes, you have to let Mary Simmons know. And each box costs £1.75. And we have received from Eljoa and Netzer children's Pesach packs, which will be used during a session run by Beiteinu next Shabbat. So I'm going to ask, I will be at KLS twice during this week, Wednesday from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. and Thursday from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. So you can come and collect your boxes. If you really can't come, which might happen, but please, if you can do it, if you really can't come, let me know by Tuesday, so we can actually send them by post. But if you can come, this will save some postage money to KLS. Okay, so there's a nice celebration ahead. And let me check, is there anything else? No, I think I think that's fine. Okay, brilliant. So let's finish now. Over to you, Rebekka.
Page 520, the Aleinu. Please stand. עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, אשר שם חלקנו לייחד את שמו, וגואלנו להמליך מלכותו. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד הארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגבהי מרומים. הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, אמת מלכנו אפס זולתו, ככתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום, והושבות אל לבביך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים, בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ, מתחת אין עוד. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
Life is finite. Like a candle, it burns, it glows, it is radiant with warmth and beauty. Then it fades, its substance is consumed, and it is no more. Yet we do not despair, for we know that we are more than a flickering flame. With our lives, we give life. Something of us can never die. We move in the eternal cycle of darkness and light, of death and life. And we name now our loved ones, and we pray that the divine presence will comfort us and all who mourn. And on this Shabbat, we remember Maurice Hornfeld, the father of Beverly Scheib. We remember Jessie Levy, the mother of Norman Sheldon, Harold Levy, the father of Norma Sheldon, Janice Rich, the mother of Sarah Alston and grandmother of Simon Joshua. And we also remember Anne-Marie Zelig, remembered by all our friends at KLS. Zichronam Livracha, may the memory be a blessing. Do we have any other name you would like to remember? Just also to let you know that Janos Gal, our dear friend Janos Gal, funeral will be on Tuesday the 6th of April at 9:20 in the morning, and it will be broadcasted online. So I wish you all a long life. I know that Sarah and Beverly are here tonight with us, so we're thinking of you tonight. Page 524. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, בעלמא יברך חירותי וימליר מלכותי, בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה וזמן קריב אמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעלם ולעלמי עלמיה, יתברר וישתבר ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקושנה בריחו, לעילה מן כל ביכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דאמירן בעלמא ואמרו אמן. יהא שלמה רבה מן שמיא, וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל בני אדם ואמרו אמן. And we finish now with Adon Olam.
Adon Olam Hashem alach b'terem kol yetzir nivra la'et nasa v'chefzo kol azai melech shemo nikra azai melech shemo nikra ואחרי ככלות הכל לבדו ימלוך נורא והוא היה והוא הווה והוא יהיה בתפארה והוא יהיה בתפארה והוא אחד בין שני להמשילו להכבירה בלי ראשית בלי תכלית ולא האות והמשרה ולא האות והמשרה והוא אלי וחי גואלי וצוחב לי בעת צרה והוא ניסי ומנוס לי מנת קורסי ביום אקרא מנת קורסי ביום אקרא בידו אפקיד רוחי בעת תישן ואירה ואם רוחי גביעתי אדוני לי ולא אירא אדוני לי ולא אירא.
May God bless us and guide us. Let us seek truth, make peace, be kind and courteous in our words, just and loving in our deeds. Yevarech Adonai v'yishmerecha. May God bless you and keep you. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'chuneka. May God look kindly upon you and be gracious to you. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. May God reach out to you in tenderness and give you peace. Amen. Shabbat Shalom. We turn to page 564, 564 for the Kiddush. יום השישי, ויחולו השמיים והארץ וכל צבאם. ויחל אלוהים ביום השביעי מלאכתו אשר עשה, וישבות ביום השביעי מכל מלאכתו אשר עשה. ויברך אלוהים את יום השביעי ויקדש אותו, כי בו שבת מכל מלאכתו אשר ברא אלוהים לעשות. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, בורא פרי הגפן, אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר קידשנו במצוותיו ורצה בנו, ושבת קודשו באהבה וברצון הנחילנו, זיכרון למעשה וראשית, כי הוא יום תחילה למקרא קודש, זכר ליציאת מצרים, כי בנו בחרת ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים, ושבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת, אמן. לחיים. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, המוציא לחם מן הארץ, אמן.
So nice. Excellent.
Shabbat Shalom. See you tomorrow.
Yeah, see you tomorrow.
Thank you, Rebekka. It
Thank
was
you.
really
Thank
nice
you so
to
much.
be with you tonight. Shabbat Shalom.